Hey guys, so we are live, which is exciting, and we didn't even have any of the playback that we normally have. So let me just double check, make sure it's working. Hey guys, so we are, and it's working. All right, so perfect. So today I thought I would come and talk to you about alchemy and the historical apothecary. While it's not something that Maggie and I talk about a lot when we come on here, it is part of my life because it's my job. So I thought today we could go over a few things that I think you guys might be kind of interested in as far as alchemy goes, because historically the apothecary and the doctors and the alchemists, it all kind of loops together in history at some point. So join me as we chit chat about this for a bit. And if you have questions, feel free to ask. If you have questions later, if you're watching this later, put them in the chat below and I will get to them. So a little bit about myself. Those of you who recently joined or haven't seen us in a while, because we haven't been on in a while, my real life job is a historical apothecary. It's a business that I started many, many years ago, and it has really brought me a lot of opportunities to not only discuss things that I think are important, which also go into the idea of energy work and everything being energy and all of this stuff. It's also I've been able to travel and do speaking engagements and work with museums. And so, you know, all these things I really, really enjoy. I enjoy digging in the archives. I enjoy perusing auction sites for extremely old manuscripts that were never published, whether it's alchemical notes on things that people in the past have kept, or, you know, a pharmacist in like the 30s, like, this just came not too long ago. This is a formulary book from 1918. This has never been published. And these are some of the things that we keep in our apothecary. And you guys might be asking, like, how does this all go together? But I promise you, by the end of this, you guys will be well informed. So things that are very cool to me are like when we get a original manuscript in where the author, this was the book that they worked out of. And what you could purchase in the apothecary were also things not only for like cosmetics, but for healing, right? And so, like, you know that Maggie and I are all about healing, and there's a lot of steps to it. A lot of times it's energetical healing. Sometimes it's physical healing, right? Where you have to take cough medicine or something like that. And what really intrigues me about the healing aspect, because that's where this all comes together, is that even historically and in ancient times, they were still learning about herbs and plants and their medicinal properties and their healing properties and even their energetical properties, and how to combine it all together in an alchemical way to make something that heals the body, whether it's inside or outside the body. So let me share with you this. This is really cool. This thing right here, it's called the Elixir of Life. And make sure I can see it. So the Elixir of Life, and it may be backwards for you, but this is something that is steeped in alchemical history. What is the Elixir of Life? The Philosopher's Stone. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. If you haven't, check it out because it is incredibly ancient. And throughout history, they've done various recipes, or like now this guy, he has his own recipe. And they would sell it in, hey, Jim, they would sell it in different ways. So this one right here, which I find so fascinating historically, is not only in English, but also in German as well. And then this was his label that he used for the Elixir of Life. So when we get into the elixir of life, we actually made some, I actually made some, not that it's ingestible, because we try to not sell things that are ingestible, even though I wish I totally could, because I totally would. But we did make something that is topical, that is very much fashioned from the old elixirs of life and the old philosopher's stones concept. So what else? Let me just think here for a second. Okay, so other things that are like super historical that you guys wouldn't think about, that we use like in our spiritual communities, I guess spiritual communities, I'm not really sure. That's not a great label either. But it is Florida water. And Florida water is something that we actually carry in our shop. I'm going to put the website, just so you guys, if you want to look at the stuff that I'm talking about, so you have a better idea. That is our website. Yeah, that's our website. So Florida water is actually super cool, because when we think of it in the spiritual world, we think of it as, you use it for cleansing things. Like people wash the floorboards to cleanse the spirits, to help promote new energy coming in, right? All of these things, get rid of the old icky energy or old icky attachments. But when it was first made, it was actually something that came up here in the United States, which is actually kind of cool, because everybody thinks that the US doesn't have that long of a history. Well, it's absolutely not true. It has just as long of a history as overseas does, but it's something that we don't really get to discuss very much, something that's very much hidden. And whenever I find recipes that are used in two different ways, and especially something that we made here in the US, I just think it's really cool coming from a historical perspective. So one of those is Florida water. And we actually have our own Florida water in the shop. And all of our shop recipes come from, like I said, like our historical manuals, historical formularies and things. We're the only one in the world that does it. We started it, and now other people are starting it too, which is very, very cool. But we were the first to do it. And so like when you come to get Florida water in our shop, whether you're doing it for spiritual purposes, putting it in your bath water to kind of help clean the energies, or you're just using it as they would have historically, which was called a toilette water. In the US, we call it toilet water. It's not really like toilet, but it's a change of the word of toilette, which is like your vanity. And these were masculine and feminine products. They didn't really have historically, like today, when you go into shops, they say, oh, this is like the guy section. This is like the girl section. That wasn't the deal historically. So you would just buy Florida water. It smells amazing, and nobody really knows where the recipe came from, which I think is absolutely awesome. People think it originated in like 1808, somewhere around there in Florida, but nobody knows actually the true history of it, which, when you think of it being used in the spiritual realm for things, is very interesting to me, that nobody has a set historical record of who was the first to produce it, what was the first recipe. So this recipe here is from 1865. And you use it, like today you would use waters. They're not perfumes, they're waters. So they smell really nice. You can add them to bath waters. You can put them in your cleaning stuff. You can splash them on yourself. You can put them on your sheets. They give a really nice smell to things, but they're not really necessarily like perfumes, right? So this may be something that you guys are interested in, and that you didn't know. Well, I don't think a lot of you know like what I actually do for a living. So I thought it would be kind of fun to discuss that. Another thing that we have that you guys might be interested in. I mean, we have so many cool, like real, true historical products, like this Florida water. And but there are other things too, where I come up with the recipes, or I take the historical recipes and I add to them. And this was one of them. And especially now that it's Halloween, this is Bewitching Body Powder. And this came from an original body powder recipe. I did add a little bit to it, but it smells amazing. And plus it's got a really cute little vintage label. So most of the time when we do labels, this one was an exception because this one came out specifically for Halloween a couple of years ago. We stick to the original historical labels. So like when you peruse our shop, you'll see a lot of historical labels. And that's because these were the labels that were used when the product was originally made. So another body powder that has a really, really great, like classic scent, almost like, to me, it smells like you're in an enchanted woodland, like this called Enchanted Woodland. But others say it kind of reminds them of their grandma or their great grandma and like the body powders that they wore. But that's part of us being historical. So this one is really, really cool as well. And it's got more of like the deeper note to it, the musks and like the dark moss notes and things like that. So you guys might be interested in this. And then quickly, before we talk about this elixir of life, because that was the main reason I came on, I just want to share a few more things. So a lot of people think like throughout history that like sex was taboo, or like the idea of sex and love, like that should all be kept very, very secret. But it's not necessarily true. That's more of like a Victorian thing that happened. But previously, especially in the 18th century and before, it was much more open about sex and sexual things. In fact, I was just telling Maggie this the other day. In the 18th century, which is 1700s, which is like the wigs with the little curls, you could go to like what would be considered a sex shop. And we actually have engravings of buying phalluses and things. So it's the part of history that everybody learns is so tiny, and most of what people learn is so skewed that like the real history, when you get down to it, is absolutely fascinating in my opinion. So we found this perfume, we found this recipe. There was a gentleman who had written down a whole bunch of historical aphrodisiac recipes. And like, that's the big thing historically, like what herbs, what fruits are aphrodisiac qualities. And so this gentleman from like the 1830s, I believe, he wrote down all these different recipes that he had found and he had researched. And we actually reproduced one of them. So the name is not Scandalous Love, the original recipe, because original recipe names are kind of boring. They're like, you know, a very fine floral perfume. They're not very colorful. So we named this one Scandalous Love, but this is actually an ancient historical recipe for a supposed aphrodisiac perfume, which I think is just super cool. And then this one, I know we get a lot of requests for me or Maggie to do past life readings or to do readings in general. And I used to do past life readings on my Etsy site, but the apothecary just keeps me so busy that I just don't have the time to do it, even though I would love to do it. So my team and I came up with this past life oil. It's like an oil perfume. And you can wear it however you choose to wear oil perfumes, you know, on your pulse points, behind your ears, things like that. But you can also use it if you're working on past life stuff. So if you're throwing your own cards or you're meditating, you can use this for that as well. And it's kind of pretty. It's got, you can see it's got like little flowers in it. But a lot of these herbs and oils that are used in this one are extremely ancient, and I absolutely love the smell of this. So the last perfume that you guys may be interested in is, if you guys don't know already, I'm very interested in ancient cultures, ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, Sumerians, Akkadians, all sorts of ancient cultures. And so I really, really enjoy researching their medicinal practices as well as their cosmetic and perfume practices. So with researching ancient Egypt, because that's like one of my things, I researched that a lot. I came up with this perfume, which is like a It's a perfume that is made with ancient Egyptian ingredients used to make perfume. So while it's not a direct reproduction, it is something that would be very, that could have been very much made back then. So I named it Nefertari, but it's not like, it's mostly just an Egyptian perfume and made with historical ingredients. So another thing that I worked on Egyptian wise is this golden serum. And the golden serum is, again, made from ancient Egyptian recipes and has 24 karat gold in it. So when you put it on your skin, you can rub the gold in. And gold is not just, I don't know if you guys know this, but like we actually have a little bit of gold around our hearts. In general, that's just something that we're born with. But gold helps protect. So I've had many discussions with my guides about this. Gold not only helps protect, like that's why you see in ancient cultures, all of these shields and swords and such, or amulets and such that have either gold fillings in them, or like amulets that are made of gold, or swords that have, or not swords, shields that have gold around them or are even made of gold. It's because the ancient cultures, this isn't something that is well known, knew that gold was a protector. It was a protector of many things. So that's why they would go into battle with these golden armored pieces on them, because they believed that it would protect. So not only rubbing it into the skin obviously is good, because true gold on the skin helps a lot, not only in like protection from the not so great particles of stuff that sit on your skin, but also when it gets rubbed in, it also helps with protecting in the insides, and helps that my guides were telling me that the synapses of how the brain works, it helps push through like fundamental channels and synapses that may be kind of weak, for like learning how to channel or learning how to work on your abilities. It helps enhance that. So it's not like you should be eating gold, because you can only eat, don't just like go like take a bite out of gold. But there is gold that is edible. And so those are always really fun. And those are the main things that I want to show you. But I want to get back to this blood moon eclipse elixir that I made, because I don't have tons of it. So if it's something that you guys are interested in, that's like the whole reason I'm here. So go pick some up. It's not really what the channel is to be used for. I'm not like big on like using this channel to sell stuff, but it is my stuff, and this stuff doesn't come along very often. So once this one's gone, it's gone. And if you're called to it, then you know it exists and you can get it. So I don't know how well you can see it, but it is Blood Moon Eclipse from 522. And we call it the fluid of life because it was made in the exact traditions as the little booklet that I showed you, the fluid of life. And so I have this, like if you go onto the website and you see it, I have this whole thing written about it, but I'm just going to read a little bit in case you're not familiar with like what moon water is. So moon water is an alchemical solution that is created during a full moon or a moon eclipse when the moon shines at its brightest. And it's the goal, when you make the water, the goal is to like harness the moon's energy. And you can use it for all sorts of things like spiritual, mental, physical balancing. And most alchemists, which I found very, very interesting, and I'm not sure like exactly why they would say this, if they're just trying to keep general practitioners who aren't really well versed in alchemy away from making these things. But mostly from my research, people are scared away to make like blood moon eclipse moon waters because it's such a powerful thing. And if you aren't very well versed in what you're doing with it, I think a lot of people get scared of like the energies and stuff, but I am not a normal alchemist. And I never go by what everybody says. I always dance to my own beat of my drum, and I know my abilities. And so I made a blood moon water. And so that's part of why it's so rare. You don't really see people making blood moon waters. And so while you can't drink this, we're not saying you guys should drink this. You can use it topically for a lot of things. You know, people believe that the moon, if the sun is, oh, that's our doorbell. If the sun is masculine, the moon is feminine. And like when I talk with Ramses about this, he talks about this all the time, about how you have to have that balance of the masculine and the feminine. And that's really what's being attacked on the planet right now, right? Where even with the stuff that Maggie and I would come on with Ra and Ramses and all that, we were first working on ourselves and the feminine to try to rise the feminine up. And now it's time to work on the masculine. And so with these moon waters, you can really use this for like harnessing the moon's energy, where like this is extremely complex because you have the blood moon coming in. And I could go over it all, but I have it all written down. So let's see. The numerology, let's go over the numerology because you know that I am super into numbers, but I'm going to read it. So for those interested in the numerology, this was done on May 15th, 2022, which whittles down to 666. So this is another reason why most people wouldn't even attempt this, because they're all freaked out about 666 being a bad number. But like you guys know, everything has a balance, right? So like 666 is such a powerful number that they've turned it into a negative number. So people don't use it in the proper ways, because if you use it in the light, it's extremely powerful. But the dark sides have kind of taken over that number and used it in a way where most light people are afraid to even go there. So, but don't worry, like it's not evil. It doesn't mean anything bad is going to happen. It's actually 666 encourages you guys to refocus and to realize that the world is trying to get your attention. Someone is trying to get your attention, to tell you to stop and look at yourself, to look honestly at yourself. And I think that, like I said, this is one of those things where if you take 666 out of the population, then you're not going to have people looking at themselves, right? And that's exactly what they want. Like, they don't want you guys to do inner work, because heaven forbid you do inner work and you realize that you are a powerful being and that they really can't control you unless you let them control you. So it's all about doing this work, looking at yourself honestly, seeing what needs to be fixed and what is distracting you from doing your inner shadow self work. And the 666, if you do this, is going to help you get on your highest timeline. So what else? It says the super flower blood moon of 2022 was the longest total lunar eclipse in 33 years since 1989. So if you add the 2 and the 7, it's a 9. And so we're dealing with this, the eclipse in 33 years, we're dealing with 369. And if you guys are familiar with the quotes from Tesla, he always said that if you want to really understand the universe, it's in the 3, 6s, and 9s. And so this is one of those things where like it's been completely reversed from everybody in the populations to scare everybody from not using it in the proper way. So not only do they teach you not how to use it in the proper way, they just want everybody to think that it's like evil. And yeah, I mean, it can be used for like not great purposes, but so can everything, right? With this balance. So I'm glad to see you guys are here with me and you guys are having your chats. That makes me happy. So 33 is also a really, really powerful number. It's known as the master teacher number. And when you combine that with 11 and 22 in terms of vibration and experiences, it really helps you with like your intuition and your dreams. And number 33 is also known as the number for spiritual giving. So more than any other number, the 3-3, which 3 and 3 is 6, right? So you see like where I'm going with all this number. If you want to go back to the Bible, they talk about like 33. It was the first temple of Solomon stood for 33 years. David ruled for 33 years. There's 33 segments in the spine. Jesus lived for 33 years. I guess God is mentioned 22 times. The tree of life, well, it would be the old tree of life, contained 22 paths, 10 globes, and the inevitable, 22 paths, 10 globes, and there's 33 steps to wisdom. So you guys totally get this, right? Like, this is what this is supposed to be used for, this elixir of life. And that's why we called it the elixir of life, because number one, alchemically, most people would not even attempt it on this blood moon. Number two, the numbers are super incredibly powerful for you guys to do your inner work and for you to see things behind the veil that you're not able to see generally. Like when Maggie and I come on and we talk about these things, and we have this unique ability where we can see beyond the veils that they don't want you to see behind. So when we do our work, a lot of this is going behind the norm of, like, if people say, like I went into the Akashic records and this is what it said for this lifetime. Maggie and I, we look at that from all angles and we're like, well, there's a curtain over that. So someone doesn't want you to know exactly what happened in that lifetime, or they have history rewritten to be a specific way, but that's not really the way it went down. So this stuff here helps you guys remove all that, where you don't have to be talking with us to be able to get behind those veils. Some of you guys are awesome at that. Others of you need some help. And so if you use this in meditations, if you use this in your past life readings, if you use this, even with your bath water, it's extremely, extremely powerful. And I've used it in, Maggie and I have had to go on so many journeys lately together and by ourselves. And I put a little bit of this on like my pulse points and my third eye. And actually the other night, which I thought was really interesting, there was this specific mission I had to do. And it was a mission that got moved up. And so then I'm like going over all the stuff I needed to, because I needed to quickly get into a meditation. I needed to quickly get into a meditation where not only was it a meditation, but I could pop out of my body. And while I find that pretty easy for the most part, or at least I can send my spirit to travel pretty easy for the most part, there was a lot of pressure with this one, and it kind of had to happen now. And so I held this in my hand, and I said, "Great Mother," I said, "Great Mother, great divine Mother, great divine Father, I need you to help me to get to the place I need to get to really quickly." So they told me to put 7 drops on my third eye, and I did. And like, it's water-based. It's like water alcohol based. It turned to a gel on my third eye, and it just stayed there, which I just thought was incredibly amazing and cool. And it really helped me to get done what I had to get done very quickly with the energy. So anytime you use something like this, I would definitely like hold it in your hand and give your intentions, because you always want to have things that are for your highest timeline, right? So like in anything you do, in any questions you ask the pendulum, in any questions you ask the cards, you want to have your highest timeline being represented, not someone who says, "Oh yeah, like you can't see me, but I have your highest timeline, but I'm lying." So if you say things like, I call in so-and-so to my pendulum, but only if they have my highest timeline in their heart, that will weed out a lot of the crap that tries to get in and lead you guys astray when you're doing your work. Same thing with things like this. If you invoke whomever you work with to invoke, and then say, as long as you have my highest timeline in your heart to please help me, blah, blah, blah. I think it adds a dimension to it on top of what I have done for you in the bottle, alchemical wise, to make sure that everything is protected so you get the best experience, whether you're working with cards or whether you're meditating or, working on your astral travel, things like that. So it's definitely a very unique thing to have. And I spent a lot of time like researching what other people had done after I made it. My team came in, I had because as the blood moon eclipse was happening, a little bit before then, my team came in, they're like, you need to do this and you need to do this now. So they worked me through the whole process of what I was doing. And so it was really, I can't take credit for it. Like Spirit and my team, my guides, they all worked through me. And I was just the 3D person down here who was able to make it happen because of their help. Let me just take a drink here. Is anyone here yet? Let me just double check. Oh yeah. Do you guys have any questions about any random stuff? I mean, not necessarily that we've been talking, but I haven't seen you guys in a long time. So hi, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Do you guys know, I'm assuming you guys know what a blood moon is, right? So on May 15th, the full moon, they called it a super moon. And that's when the full moon is at the closest to Earth. And it made it a super blood moon eclipse. The blood moon is another name for total solar eclipse. During the lunar eclipse, this is where the Earth passes between the sun and the moon and blocks the sun rays. So the blood moon is actually coming off the Earth. So it's really, really, as far as not astronomy, but what's the alignment of planets and things like that. It's also incredibly powerful. There's just so much with this that I'm so happy I was able to make some. And I use mine all the time. So I hope that it will help you guys as much as it helps me, or has helped me, and the different things that I have to do. Astrology. Yeah, that's it. Astrology. So Jim is asking, do you and Maggie offer private channelings? That's a tricky question. The answer is yes and no. It really depends on the workload that Ra has given us to do. We're always, you can always ask if we can schedule something for you, but this is where, when a lot of people recently have contacted me through Etsy asking about the past life readings or the channelings, and I just haven't been able to do it because, I complain about it all the time. I shouldn't complain. I'm not complaining. I'm just stating the truth of my life that I don't have very much time for certain things that I would like because I don't make the time in allotment with all the other things I have to do. So if you're interested, you can always send us an email. I'll put my email down here. yourtemplebeautiful@gmail.com. Your Temple Beautiful. Yes. So that would be the email to get a hold of us and to see if we can either do, in the past, Maggie has done channelings just Maggie has done channelings with just you and Maggie, or sometimes it'll be booked that way, and then Spirit will call me in and we'll have do channeling with the three of us. So yeah, so if you put your date of birth in your month, so it's birth month and year, but there's different things. I would have to look it up if you just do the birth and the month. But in any case, 6 is a very powerful number. And the more numbers that you can combine it with, the more powerful it gets. So there's a lot of ways to look it up, to look up your, not only your astrology, thank you, for that term, Jim. But your numerology too. And I'm such a huge believer, I guess, of the vibrational effects of everything, including numbers. So for me, even with water and like that's part of the whole thing of this. Once you know that you can program water and you can program your herbs and stuff in the water, and you can do all sorts of kind of magic, because really what is magic? Like everybody now is so concerned with how much magic do I have? Like what is my magic gathering? And my personal opinion is that until you really work through your shadow self, it doesn't matter how much magic gathering you have, because gathering it is one thing. Knowing and feeling comfortable that you have it and that you can use it is another thing. And understanding it at its basis, right? So basically magic is energy at its basics. But then when you mix in the elements, earth, air, fire, water, and ether, you learn how those affect energy. So then when you start combining these things, and then you realize that your words are magic, your words are spells. It's all about how you intend things to be. That adds another element to the magic. If you sing, that vibration of song adds another element to the magic. If you work with plants and animals, that adds another vibration to the element of magic. And this is where this whole alchemy comes in. I would love to discuss with you about Sorcerer's Stone and the dragons and all of this super interesting stuff in the history of alchemy. But it's just as important back then, or maybe not important, but as valid back then as it is now. And when you start searching into what is magic, I think the idea of magic and how they want so many of you guys to perform magic is kind of screwy, and it's maybe not balanced in the right way it should be, because your magic is only going to be as good as you are strong and clean and clear and balanced within yourself. Does that make sense? So it's fun to pick up these magic books at Barnes and Noble or whatever and open them and say, oh, I'm going to do this spell. Well, it's a totally different thing, in my opinion, to not really know what you're doing, but know that your words carry magic, your intentions carry magic. That is the basis of it. So yes, you do those spells and you hope for the best. It's a completely other thing when you learn how energy moves and spins, and the difference of the I keep on saying alchemical, but how things combine with earth, air, fire, water, that adds a whole new thing. So there's so many things, I always say this, there's so many things that I would love to be able to come on and teach you guys about. And I hope that one day soon will all come to fruition and we can be hey guys, join us, we've been given the okay to teach about magic. But that has not been the case yet. But in any case, that was really all I wanted to come on and say. And, with the changing of the seasons, it's a good time now. It's not only the changing of the seasons into this fall season, but as the earth energies stand now and what's all happening galactically, and within our earth and in our inner earth, and in the planets outside in the universe, now is the time for you guys to be doing some serious releasing again. I know this like always spirals. Looking at yourself, looking really, really hard and seeing what's not serving you, because I know a lot of people talk about the event, and the event is something that I think is not, I don't even want to talk about it because I think it's kind of BS. But that is to say that the energies of the people talking about the Earth's splitting is actually on its way. Let's just say that it is actually on its way. And there is big movement for this concept. Now, however you see this concept happening, the only way, if you guys are into this like new earth thing, is to dig out all of your skeletons and go through all your shadows and like balance your light and your dark. I mean, there's not going to be anyone on this planet who's going to be only light. And if they are, I think they're probably fooling themselves. The goal is to gain your sovereignty back, realize how powerful you are, learn some bit about how the new magic on this planet is working and how you can use it simply by thought and mouth, and to know that you know yourself so well and the energies around you so well that nothing can hold you back. That's how you're going to get into the new earth, they call it. It's not really a topic I usually talk about, but I think there is a break that is, I know there is a break that is happening right now. And so I can say that, I will say that there is a difference happening right now, and you can probably see it, but we still have a long way to go. So you got to keep your head up, keep your head up and keep working. And that's it. So, okay. I love you guys. And if there's no more questions, I will head down and do shipping. I know that like this is on such a lag that by the time I get done speaking, my hands are still flying on the other screen. So if you guys have any more questions, put them in the chat. And if I don't get to them now, I'll get to them later. And other than that, I love you guys, and we will talk later, and keep on keeping on. Keep on the good fight. You guys are doing really well. So many percentage jumps in like the actual vibration of the planet. Like everybody is really, 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 really putting in the work. So I'm really glad to see that. All right. Other than that, we'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Much love.